everyone watching at home. Welcome to the Adelaide Eternal Legacy Challenge for July 2019. In the booth, we have Beckett, Wolfe.
G'day, guys.
And me, Sarven McLinton. We'll be bringing you the coverage from round 2 of our event. Going straight to the top tables. On the right-hand side, we have Vaughn Schroder. He's on Imperial Painter, red-white version. And on the left, we have Nick Savidis, who is on Jund. Whose list would you like to look at first?
Let's look at Nick's on the Jund. He's got the new card. Everyone's talking about Renin 6. And I haven't seen too much Jund. Like, Jund's always been around, but I wonder if this sort of pushes it into like a very solid deck.
Yeah,
tier 1, tier 2
Jund's
deck.
always been the solidly tier 3 deck. You
Yeah.
know, you can rock up with this, you're going to have fun, and then you're going to encounter some combo deck, and your him hits the wrong cards, and then you lose. But with Renin 6, the ability to grind in the mid-game is pretty sweet, and not having to play blue and worry about being narceted out of the game, because Narcet at the moment, shutting off 12 of your main deck cards in a blue deck is pretty rough, but it doesn't really affect Jund particularly.
That's right. A couple of other... I noticed you got 3 Lily Veil. I can't remember the last Jund list I looked at. That seems like a lot. Maybe that's, a defense against the... He wants to go up on the combo decks and hit their hand a bit. He's also got Angrith's Rampage and 2 Seasoned Pyromancers.
It's a lot of Modern Horizons cards. It's got Nurturing Peatland in there as well, and Weather the Storm in the sideboard. The anti-Storm card, gain bunch of life. So quite a bit of Horizons.
Yeah, Force of Vigor and Lily's Triumph and Plague Engineer. There's heaps of it. So
sweet.
I wonder if it's repositioned.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at
let's check out
Vaughn's list. So Vaughn's list is a red-white painter deck. So this has seen a variety of different incarnations in the past and has always been, again, solidly a tier 3 deck. The Battle of the Tier 3s. But the recent addition to the deck that, again, might, just like Jund, push it into a nice tier 2 territory is the new Goblin Welder variant, Goblin Engineer. So he's got a lot more redundancy now to find his combo. In terms of Grindstone, if you haven't seen it in action, you basically use Painter's Servant to turn your opponent, or everyone's cards, into the same colour, and then activate Grindstone and essentially mill and keep milling, and their entire deck goes into the graveyard.
But he's playing a bit more mid-range. He's got 3 Smuggler's Copter, which work quite well with Servant and the Imperial Recruiters. He's got a Chandra Torch of Defiance, 3 Khan Great Creator, Ensnaring Bridges, Grindstones. He's only got 3 copies of the actual namesake combo. 3 Servant, 3 Grindstone. So he's sort of slowed it down a bit, maybe? Or is he just, leaning on the reliability of the Goblins to get it?
Yeah. In the past, Painter has always been a 3-4 split between Painters and Grindstones. So going down to 3-3 might, again, be an indication of these, Goblins shoring up the consistency. Same with the Smuggler's Copter and the like. Really interesting to see how this goes. I wonder if that looting is going to go the distance in terms of a longer game, a grindy game. Shall we go down to the match and check it out?
Let's check it out.
So the players have resolves and mulligans. Draws are occurring now. So this is Nick's 7 going down to 6. So he's going to
London
select a
mulligan,
card.
isn't it?
Yeah. One of these cards goes onto the bottom like that. And he keeps this 6, which is... It's a great hand, don't you think?
It is a good hand.
Turn 1,
so.
time away for turn 2. And here comes, this is the Goblin. This is the little new chap. Goblin Engineer. No, is it Goblin Welder?
Goblin Welder's the old school one.
Yeah.
Goblin Engineer's the new one.
Yeah, the Goblin Engineer is the one that dumps one in the bin. So you search your library for an artifact and put in the graveyard. So apologies for the glare. We are working with a new setup at the moment, and there's a little bit of teething. So you might notice some of the colour and some of the glare might pop up here and there, but we will do our best to explain what cards they are. That is a new printing Imperial Recruiter, that went to the bin from the Thoughtseas. So that's Goblin Engineer, the one on the bottom right-hand side there. Is it?
Yeah, that's Goblin Engineer, and Goblin Engineer, which he's about to play, says, when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card and put it in your bin.
Yeah.
And then you can sacrifice an artifact to return another artifact with CMC 3 or less.
So it's kind of like it's basically
it does both versions.
Yeah.
But the drawback is that with Welder you can just get back, I was going to say Blight Steel, but that shuffles. You can get back something massive. This is limited to 3 or less, but obviously the Servant combo runs, they're all 3 or less, so I think it is actually a stronger card in this list.
Yeah.
I'm interested to ask Vaughn what he prefers.
Perfectly positioned for this particular list,
That's
right?
right.
It's kind of like almost like a fair Goblin Welder, right? But in this deck, it's a better Goblin Welder.
I agree, yeah, and that's Grindstone going to the bin. Grindstone, if you don't know, is one of the combo pieces. It does some kind of milling, which isn't super relevant in most matchups, but there you go. So sacrificing the artifact's land to return Grindstone. So now it's out. But basically, it's not going to do a whole lot until he gets Painter Servant out.
Yeah, so turn 1 Welder into turn 2 Engineer into activate the Welder, welding away the artifact land into Grindstone is a pretty nice, insurance policy against this kind of removal.
That's right. So what happened there, I think, was Nick wastelanded the land, and in response, it was sacked.
Yeah.
So I mean, Nick's been pretty interactive. He's cast a Thoughtseize, a Wasteland, and a Lightning Bolt.
Like all of those plans, but I like it with the time of work on the table. That's
I agree.
The problem.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
You don't want to be soft disrupting. Like wastelanding someone is a kind of soft disruption. It's very, very rarely ever a hard lock unless your opponent is the unluckiest person in the world and can't draw a land.
Plus he's Thoughtseized him, so he knows he's got the land.
Yeah, so
just the day's principle, isn't it?
Yeah, just deploying Tarmogoyf is often just the better option because then you can turn this guy sideways for 4 or 5 a turn and actually close the game. That's going to happen here anyway, so it's kind of like 1 turn too late. Not too late, but 1 turn slower. But we'll see whether or not it's too late, depending on how quickly Vaughn can actually draw that namesake second piece for.
That's right. I think sometimes you can get freaked out about what your opponent can do with a combo deck, but I think you've still got to just say, look, if I'm not able to untap with a Tarmogoyf, then, and see, again, this is a very conservative play. He needs to be saying, if I can't untap with a Tarmogoyf, I'm going to lose,
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe, we've been talking instead of looking. Maybe he's seen the actual combo and he knows that Vaughn can just win.
I actively don't like this play, right?
Yeah, I prefer just playing Goyf turn 2 and then doing all these interactive spells. And every time Vaughn tries to progress the board and tries to progress his combo, you're there countering it with a trophy, a bolt, a Thoughtseize, a wasteland.
Yeah, because if you trophy what happens is if you trophy the Goblin Engineer there, the Engineer doesn't really have any relevant targets in the graveyard at this point, right?
Yeah, so all you're doing is just saying, if Vaughn gets Painter Servant in the bin, now I don't lose when I would have.
Yeah.
Which is sort of unlikely anyway.
Niche. It's very niche.
It is niche. And this is a 2-mana Wall of Glare again. They sort of all look like Goblin Engineer to me.
It's Goblin Engineer, because he's now dumping the Painter Servant into the graveyard.
Right.
Could actually be a heads-up play there from Nick, though, because of the Assassin's Trophy, the combo is not assemblable this turn. However, if the combo was assembled this turn, the Assassin's Trophy would have dealt with it anyway. So, or at least for a turn. Either way, all of these plans seem better when a Tarmogoyf is out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get really, really afraid of what your opponent can do and you forget about your main game plan. And John's main game plan is really to value but also close the game. Like they're not.
I mean, it's not a tempo deck. You don't have daisies. Admittedly to Nick, it is a lot easier to do this in a Delver sort of list where you've got 0-mana counterspells as a just in cases. It's a bit harder in Jund because you've got to tap your mana to do your interaction. Wondering though what his last 2 cards are. He sort of played like a control role and then said, now that we're all out of gas, I've got a Goyf and you've got half a combo piece.
Yeah, well actually he's got the whole combo, yeah?
Well, he does, but I'm saying that's what his game plan was. That's what his logic was.
Assuming that an artifact is somewhere amongst the cards in his hand, like an artifact land or something is perfectly fine.
Oh, and here we go. So Grindstone targeting himself, trying to get exactly what that niche thing we were talking about, putting the putting the Painter Servant in the
already in
bin.
there. The Painter's already in the bin because the Goblin Engineer tutored it out.
Right.
Yeah. So what he's looking for is an artifact. Any artifact wins the game on the spot.
Well, I guess that makes the grindstone a bit more relevant now, doesn't it? I mean, I can't really remember how often grindstone. Oh, I guess grindstone would still target yourself for welder.
Yeah. You very often target yourself with grindstone, but it's quite literally all about whether or not an artifact can be. Actually, no, you can do it on the stack. So this is what happens: he activates grindstone, targeting his opponent. Then he sacrifices the grindstone to return the Painter Servant. If the last card in hand is not a lightning bolt from Nick, it's game over.
Well, Vaughn's much more experienced with this deck than we are, obviously. And there we go. There's the concession. I like that play. That's cool. I haven't seen it done on the stack before. I've played against Painter Servant a fair bit when I first started playing Legacy, but not for ages. And Vaughn's, I think, been playing it for quite a while, so he was quite confident in that one, wasn't he?
Ever since I've known him, at least for the last 2 years or so, he's been working with some kind of version of Painter, gradually building it, and then he kind of moved to this red-white version, with the white providing some powerful sideboard cards, which we'll get an opportunity to see here, maybe. So in the sideboard from Vaughn, we have, let's see what might come in.
Well, it's a mid-range matchup, so I don't know if there's heaps. Maybe Ensnaring Bridge?
Yeah. Bridge, I guess, doesn't. It just turns off Tarmogoyfs, right? It's not what it's here for.
You certainly can still lose with the bridge out.
Yeah, you just get attacked by it.
That's right, and there's
actually, Dark Confidant can't attack through a Painter Servant, so maybe it's funny that they actually 4 Leyline of the Voids.
No, I don't think.
I think this is overboarding.
I think so too.
I think personally, I just like bringing in a 4th Painter Servant. Okay, here comes in a whole bunch of graveyard interaction. So for Vaughn, I really like bringing in 4th Painter Servant because what will happen is Nick will overboard on removal for Painter Servants, things like lightning bolts and the like. So having access to an additional one can be good. And an additional grindstone, again, trying to wear down your opponent's removal because there's only so many removal pieces they can have. But also you get a large amount of redundancy.
I also like Wormcoil Engine.
Yeah, Wormcoil is
just
100%.
something that beats mid range.
Basically, Jund can't beat Wormcoil Engine because the best it can do is play a Lily of the Veil, make you sacrifice a creature. You sacrifice it, or you sacrifice your Painter Servant, which is going to come back at some other point. Or you sacrifice a Wormcoil Engine, have 2 tokens, then you weld away 1 token, return the Wormcoil Engine. So it's really, really hard to beat a Wormcoil Engine for a fair, grindy deck.
Absolutely.
It's not white.
So, going to Nick, we touched on it briefly. It looks like he's bringing in his anti-graveyard, which makes sense.
He's no doubt bringing in Force of Vigor because it's just an insurance policy where he passes a turn and without any Thoughtseize or without any counter spells, you'll find that Vaughn probably won't really play around something that's free, and he could just get got by Force of Vigor. That being said, Force of Vigor is a brand new card, so it's on people's minds.
That's right. And I think Surgical is going to be really interesting in this one because you can Surgical away the combo pieces and it's quite relevant. It's not just getting rid of that one card, but then you get rid of all of them. But there can be instances where Vaughn's able to play around it by having 2 goblins out, and then he can just go in response to the Surgical, just do it again. And the target's removed.
Targeted graveyard hate is really hard.
That's right.
Against this deck. So he's brought in engine. So he's brought in. So he's. Oh no, those are the things he's taken out, right?
Yeah. So is that a mainboard Tormod's Crypt?
Yeah.
There is a mainboard Tormod's Crypt, is there?
Well,
I know. I reckon that's what he's putting in. Maybe he was umming and erring about the ley lines.
Yeah, surely he didn't bring the ley lines. I just don't think that's right in this matchup.
There's hardly. I mean, I guess you stop it. You shut off Tarmogoyfs. But even then, they're able to Assassin's Trophy.
Shuts off Grove of the Burn Willows and Ren and 6.
Oh, okay.
Does actually shut off quite a few
lot.
cards.
I didn't think about. I would never think that to do that though. You know, I would just say
shuts off not young Pyromancer, Swole Pyromancer. There's a few things it shuts off, I guess. But we'll see exactly what he did actually bring
Jeez,
in.
maybe he is right. I'm trying to think how he wins now without his graveyard. I guess he's got Bob Domford on. That's about it. Although he does have, ways to deal with it. He's got...
Bob's really hard to attack through 1/3s.
Yeah, I'll pay that.
Mm.
Guess we'll find out, huh? Running 6 ultimate, maybe.
I
don't even know what it
but
does.
You can retrace nothing.
Okay. Retrace some...
All your things in your graveyard have
lightning bolts.
There. Alright, so let's see. If there's any pre-game effect, we'll know whether he brought the ley lines in. This is another mulligan from Nick. On the upside, the London mulligan is far less punishing. So, alright, so we've got Lion's Eye Diamond and a Pyroblast and a Mountain. What else did you see in that hand? Just be quick.
That's literally all I saw. I saw LED, Pyro, Mountain, but you might be wondering why he's kept the Pyro in. It's because Painter's Servant will inevitably, when it lands, name a colour. You can name blue, and then make all spells blue, so they're able to be Pyroblasted on the stack or on the board. They're even blue on the stack, so that's why he keeps it in. That's why he's got 4 main board. It's a neat little interaction there.
Yeah, he's got 4 Pyroblast main, 2 Red Elemental Blast main, and he's slided 1 Reb out for this matchup. So he just was trimming, basically.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously it's super strong versus blue decks, but it's still decent versus non-blue decks, although I think you'd want to go up to 4 Servants if you were going to keep in Pyros versus a non-blue deck, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll see both of them have gone down to 6 here. And in a game of a 2-piece combo versus a mid-range grind, the mid-range deck wins in the mulligan race, right?
Yeah, although it looks like Nick's... Yeah, I was about to say, he's got a pretty land-heavy hand. He's just sunk his Bayou. Force of Vigor, Abrupt Decay, lands including a Wasteland. It's not amazing, there's no pressure, but it is interactive.
He did side out some Dark Confidants. Did you notice that?
Oh, I did not.
Yeah. I saw a few kind of go into the pile off to the side, which is that, I don't know what to side out, so I'll take these out. But I really think Bob is really important in this matchup, not just to attack through a 1/3, which is not possible, but just to draw cards, because your life total is almost never pressured by a 1/3.
That's right.
And a 1/1.
I agree, yeah. And here we go, we're off. Ancient Tomb, Painter's Servant.
So Painter names blue here. This is something that Vaughn followed up with us in the coverage booth afterwards. He just said, by the way, all of the painters that were on camera were always naming blue. But he does call other colours against different decks, because when you play against, say, a blue deck, this might not be the best example, but say a blue deck that you know is going to bring Pyroblast in, you can use painters to not name blue, which makes his stuff impervious to his opponent's Pyroblasts, because they're no longer going to be blue to be Pyroblasted. But second, it turns off his opponent's Force of Will pitching, because there's no blue cards.
That's right.
They're
cool.
blue, but they're just naturally blue. Like, they can't do the cheeky pitch a mountain to this.
So are they blue in addition to the other colours?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So they become multicolored.
So it makes your Force of Wills worse, because you can't just pitch.
It makes the Force of Will normal.
Yeah, you can't just pitch your worst card.
Yeah, but so often.
And there we go.
There's the
Pyroblast on a Force of Vigor.
Force of Vigor. Yeah. I'm sure that Nick felt so good about that Force of Vigor, where he's like, yeah, I'll just pitch this green card. I'll just kill a thing I actually want to kill, and kill one of your lands. And
he could have gone
nonchalantly places a Pyroblast.
He could have gone a bit conservative there, played around the Pyroblast, and just kept up Abrupt Decay. In fact, now that I think about it, there's no real rush to play Force of Vigor, right?
It's a bit greedy.
You could keep up Abrupt Decay, wait till you hit a worse green spell or another green spell, or if you get greedy, then you've got the choice. I mean, you're only taking one a turn. And
Abrupt Decay is
uncounterable.
Blue.
Yeah.
It's blue, so it can be Pyroblasted, but it is uncounterable, so it cannot be Pyroblasted.
Khan the Great Creator. Has he got the Mycosynth in the sideboard?
It'd be interesting to see.
He does not.
That's a grindstone in the...
So that's why he's kept 3 and 3. That makes a lot more sense. He's kept 3 main 3 and 1 in the side, so that he can search up the combo piece.
Yeah, I think I just missed looking at Khan Great Creator. I just forgot about that line, but that makes total sense now why he's going 3 and 3 and then 1 and 1 in the board. So how have you enjoyed the Khan Great Creator new decks in Legacy?
I haven't played against too many. I've been playing against it a lot in Vintage, but I haven't played heaps.
It's pretty sweet. It changed the landscape a little bit. And are
they all just Mycosynth decks?
No, there's actually, obviously Mycosynth is the dream, but there's many other options that it can do, including providing a bit of resilience to those Eldrazi decks, where they can just play it and actually have some sideboard answers for things like combo, finding a Sorcerer's Spyglass or a Tormund's Crypt or something. So Liliana of the Veil, sacrificing Painted Servant.
Smuggler's Copter. Why is the Copter in there? That seems a bit weird.
It seems like he's going
pressuring the life total.
No, he doesn't care about that. He cares about looting.
Right.
Yeah. So because so many of his threats
I guess
you
can also block.
Like look at
Delvers
Goblin,
with it, right?
Well, look at Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineer, Painter's Servant, Imperial Recruiter. That's 12 creatures. Actually, literally almost all, if not all, of the threats in his deck are 1 power critters.
Yeah, okay.
So
that are otherwise not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, they just sit there. So I can see that resilience that the Copter's giving, as well as the ability to kill a Planeswalker.
And here it's pretty relevant. And you can block a Delver or swing and loot. I stand corrected. Maybe.
So that's an Enlightened Tutor being discarded. It's one of the top deck tutors that is not banned in Legacy. If you look at the power level of the other things like Mystical Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, and so on, this is in the same vein as those cards when it's in the right deck. And in this deck, it is basically like VT, right? You're just always going to find the most important thing you need at the time to combo off. So away goes his overpriced land, Soul Land, City of Traders.
Although could he have not, if he had the City of Traders there, oh no, Khan's on 1. I was going to say he can fetch out the Synthlitis, but he doesn't even have it, does he?
Nope. So is that a double Grindstone now? Or no, that's a Painter's Servant because
that's the new art Painter's Servant. Yeah. So he's got the combo.
So he's covering all bases here. So he's crewing the Copter with the recently played Painter's Servant, but he has the actual combo on the board ready to go.
That's right.
But he knows that there's no need for him to play it into an Abrupt Decay or something.
Absolutely. So you might as well get more value, and you can ask the question. Basically you get the free swing, right? Because Nick's unable to decay the Servant, to prevent the damage. Or the Smuggler's Copter.
Yeah, it's just basically free.
Because you just go off in response.
Exactly. It's basically free, and he gets to have the opportunity to loot. He discarded a Chandra Torch of Defiance.
Guess he doesn't have the mana.
Yeah, because that City of Traders went away. So obviously the Chandra was the one he drew, because otherwise he just would have slammed Chandra there.
I'm trying to think.
Float the mana off the city, and then...
So, okay, yeah. So if Vaughn goes for it, then Nick can, in response, hit the Servant. It seems odd.
So this is a window because...
Oh, it's because Grindstone costs 3?
Yeah, it's 3 to activate. So this was the window for him. But remember, if that last card in hand is Simeon's Spirit Guide, which is something that, you have to sometimes just play around.
Yeah, there's a one-off. Yeah, one-off.
Cheeky little one there, just ready to go. So that one card, if it's not a creature, that Copter is now going to be a little bit meh, right?
It is, unless...
Oh, ET. So,
okay.
So
backup
end
Servant.
of turn, ET.
Right.
But remember that...
He was umming and erring because he also wants to hit the 3rd mana.
Yeah. So he's going to be able to play a Painter's Servant. But I think this is correct because even though your Smuggler's Copter is going to loot into 0 cards, because whatever you draw you're going to discard, the top deck land would win the game. And that's worth playing for, right? Like next turn, the following turn, not this one, the following turn will win the game on the spot. And if it doesn't, he has 2 ways to draw that because the Smuggler's Copter will be crewed again.
That's right, and he's still got a cheeky Khan Great Creator out.
Yeah,
I don't know
eventually
what...
that Khan can activate him.
It's a bit sort of awkward, I don't know what he's got after sideboards, but...
Let's watch this Smuggler's Copter go the distance. It's going for speed.
Mill 1.
Yeah, mill 1.
And it was a Leyline of the Void, okay.
That's something you don't want to draw, so that's pretty much a really, really good mill. So yeah, he's entirely live to top deck land, but also Khan Great Creator could -2 and get a mana from the sideboard. If he, say, put a Lotus Petal or something into the sideboard because of the sideboarding plants, he just wins.
And you know what? I was going to say that's a bit of a stretch, but Lotus Petal's a really good example of something I trim versus control. Maybe not versus Jum, but I trim versus control. And then, yeah, you got a cheeky little extra mana there.
Yeah. So he's consulting his sideboard now, looking at what Khan Great Creator can find. Khan's really, really interesting about this, you know. A Planeswalker that comes down and goes, -2. Oh yeah, here we go. We've got make our artifacts into critters. Use this artifact to crew this thing here. And the Leyline of the Void. This is pretty sick mills, right? Just milling the worst possible card in your deck.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
I would have held the Smuggler's Copter there.
To mill away? But you can activate them with Khan, though. Because Khan can make them into 2/2s, and that's actually quite a bit of damage.
Okay, I'll pay that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's 5, yeah, that's 5, isn't it?
Next turn is quite a bit of damage. 5 damage next turn, because you can use the Grindstone to crew one of them, and then attack for 5, get 1 loot, and then attack for 5 the following turn. It's pretty good. Alright, here we go. He's ready to go, but he doesn't need to do it. So, the Khan Great Creator can find a Pain of 7. So Khan can find something from your library or the graveyard, or exile?
No, it's only from sideboard, isn't it?
So was the Pain of Servant?
Maybe he's just saying I've got it. I've got it on my board.
Either way, it's pretty much done deal. So that was a 2-0 for Vaughn, right?
That's 2-0, yeah.
Yep. So thank you very much for watching round 2 of the Adelaide Eternal Legacy Challenge. We'll be back with round 3, 4, and 5 to complete this one over the next short period. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.